Good morning and afternoon. It's Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific. Welcome all. I'm Kane and I'm joined with David, better known as the Workday Sharing Guy. Also joining us today is Denise, Logan and special guests. Welcome to the Sharing Show. Okay, so just don't forget we are in the summer program, so the next show will be the last Wednesday in June. And some housekeeping here, we are opening up all lines. So as you join, your microphone is live and you may mute yourselves if you like to. Also, chat is open and available to you to use, and you also can interact with anybody on the show today. So please make sure when you do that through chat that you select to send the chat to all panelists and all attendees. Again, it's a live show. Feel free to interact. And I think we're now ready. I'm going to pass this over to you, Denise, for our first Kahoot.
All right, it's time for our first Kahoot today. That is our survey Kahoot. If you will open a browser and go to kahoot.it, we will begin here in a moment. Okay, we'll have your pen here. Your pin for today is 124388.
That's 124388.
Right, there's 4 questions this morning.
There's no wrong answer. What is your preference for frequency of the sharing show? Weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, or daily? Now we are, of course, making a move for summer, but for season 2, when we come back in October, good for us to know. Curious how many people are green out there. Okay, nobody chose daily. Looks like bi-weekly is a winner ahead of monthly. All right, that's great feedback. Which of these events is most helpful for you? Have you been to a RUG before, a regional user group? Have you been to Rising? Share-a-thons and the sharing show? Or all of the above? You can do all of the above if you've been to Rising before, of course, and to a RUG. Okay, it looks like plenty of you have been to Rising, the RUG, and of course now the sharing show. For the June airing of the sharing show, pick which area would be your top? Reporting, integration, security, or recruiting? Now, as you pick your top pick, know that we're going to ask the same question again so that you get to do your second pick as well. Right? But I'm curious what your top pick would be for topics of June, which is a month from now. Okay, again, we've done this once before. Most people vote for reporting. All right, integration next, security, and then recruiting last. Now, in this next question, it's the same question. Do you have a second pick? Double up on your first pick. No subliminal suggestions here in the picture. If your first pick was something that you really feel strongly, do the same one twice. Okay, that's interesting. So that brings us up to security. Could have been the picture, but I believe it wasn't the picture. I've worked with several customers who would like some help with security.
And what do we have up next on the agenda?
Up next, we have David, the Workday Sharing Guy.
Okay, hi everybody, this is David, and as most people know, if you're repeat here on the Sharing Show, I have a handshake agreement and disclaimer here is that I no longer work at Workday. I was an employee 149 over 11 years ago, and these Share-a-thons and the Sharing Show, this is in no way does it represent Workday. Everybody just represents themselves. Feel free to share. We're all customers here. This is not training, it's just knowledge sharing. I highly recommend the Workday training. This is a spot for any nonprofit Workday customer who would like to share something, ask a question, or speak about your nonprofit. So this will be here every month, and for those who are interested, let us know. We have approximately a month here before the June airing of the Sharing Show.
And now we want to talk a little bit about our t-shirts and buttons. Previously, most of you voted for a black and white shirt. And so we are looking to take action on that.
Yeah, so I wanted just to remind people that the tie-dye shirt in the upper left, that's what we had at Rising. It's actually not that strong. It's a little bit faint. You'll see a picture of Denise wearing it at Rising. So it's not as strong of a tie-dye. Then there was kind of a close vote between black letters on white or white letters on black, maybe a blue smile face. So we would like to finalize on this. And what we're doing is we're going to send a share button to everybody who's on this show. This is the final show before we've officially moved to monthly. This is a reminder of Mike's presentation from the very first airing of the Sharing Show. And you'll see here on his board proudly displaying an orange button. The orange button looks nice with the blue lanyard. So we just need to know how to get these to you.
So to get them to you, you will receive an email from me, and if you send me back your mailing address, we'll be able to send you out your t-shirt and your buttons.
Yep, so Denise, you'll need to know t-shirt size. Buttons are only one size, and that's a good picture there of Denise. You could see that the tie-dye is not quite as bright, but we will finalize soon on the color and order of the shirts. Everybody, by the way, who participated in the stock challenge of when Workday would break through 200. If you missed last week's or 2 weeks ago airing, everyone who participated gets a shirt, as does anyone who wins top on the podium for the quiz Kahoot at the end, and anyone who's ever done a share or an ask.
And what do we have up next on the agenda?
Up next, we have our fun photo of the month with Cestmir from Prague.
Hey, Cestmir, this is a reminder of one of the first airings of the Sharing Show. That was your fun photo of the week. Now we have what's called fun photo of the month. So if you're off of mute, you've got the airtime.
Thank you, David. Yeah, hi everyone. Best regards from Europe. So it's been a while, right? Probably 4 months ago when I mentioned how I got inspired by the Sharing Show here, and I reached out to a few folks based in Prague from PwC and Johnson & Johnson that were geeks into Workday report writing, and we went for our first Workday sharing lunch, or meetup as we called it. And so that's on the left, and since then, you know, the group, it's been thriving, it's growing, and the picture you see on the right-hand side, it's from last month when we had close to 10 people participating. There's guys from IKEA, there's guys from Edwards Life Sciences, and the guy in the right-hand corner, that's actually Filip Došek from Workday. Not sure if you know, but Workday's got offices here in Prague where they work on their augmented analytics functionality. So amazing sessions, you know, people share with each other, and we even are able to learn about the fancy new Workday algorithms and cool fancy things that are coming up. So wanted to thank you for getting me inspired, and as you mentioned in the title on the right, I reached out to you, and sounds like, or it's very likely that we're gonna have our first Share-a-thon in Europe ever, right? And it's gonna be in Prague as the community grows. People will be flying in from other countries. And I realize this is mostly, you know, in the Sharing Show, there's mostly people from the United States, so not sure if there are so many Europeans in here, but yeah, thanks for running these sessions, David, and getting us inspired and sharing the love of Workday up here in Europe as well. So that's about it.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Cestmir. So just to be clear, there is a 2-day Share-a-thon in Prague on Tuesday and Wednesday. I've already purchased my flights, right? So
all right, it's happening.
There's no maybe. And your friend back there in the back corner, if he has a key to the Workday office, we know where the party will be on Tuesday night.
Deal.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to move from that topic, which is the 2-day Share-a-thon in Prague on Tuesday, Wednesday, the 18th and 19th of June, to talk about Share-a-thon marathon that I'm doing in Europe. There will be, after the Tuesday, Wednesday in Prague, it is the first European Share-a-thon. On Friday, the longest work day of the year, there'll be a 1-day Share-a-thon in London, and that will be followed with a 3rd Share-a-thon in Amsterdam on Monday. So this is 3 cities in Europe, 4 days of Share-a-thons, all in 1 week. And for those who missed an earlier airing of the Sharing Show, there was a time in which I did 5 Share-a-thons in 1 week. I traveled from LA to Dallas to Boston and did 2 remote ones in between. So I'm not breaking that record, but 3 cities in Europe will be an interesting Share-a-thon marathon for me.
And what's next on the agenda?
Up next, we have position management, chair share with Charlene from California.
Hey, Shar, you're on for your chair share.
Good morning, everybody. Well, thanks for having me. I thought I would like to share our change management approach with position management. I know we've had a couple conversations with this one, but with a presentation that I had done is really to help managers or HR people, HR partners understand position management a little bit more without the Workday ease and how we may slip into some of the configuration verbiage. So I like to share that a position management is really your approved openings in a supervisory organization. Not using the word position, sometimes people use roles or headcount or something, but the position management will offer the approved openings in your supervisory organization. You can have an open position that recruiting is not actively looking to fill. That'll show up on the staffing tab of the organization and be positions without requisitions. You can also have positions that can be unavailable to fill on a separate tab on the supervisory org as well, because there's a future dated hire or the position has been closed. So be sure and look at that one and reiterate. I've done in the past reiterating, depending on your outlook, headcount can be just the bodies that you have working for you now. Finance will tell you no, include the budgeted positions, and then there's also important to look at what you're not actively recruiting for and those that you filled but they just haven't started yet. For reporting purposes, I've found it very beneficial to keep the position open when a worker terminates and replace the worker in that same position. It's especially helpful if there are security assignments on that position. The security partner doesn't have to do extra work to reassign it when another position is filled or designated to have some security on that position. Keeping the position open is also helpful for trended worker reporting. One concept that was a visual that was helpful is to think of positions as chairs. And you have a defined number of chairs at your dining table. And that's your dining table is really your supervisory org. And, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Some people say, I got 8 chairs, I've got 8 positions. Now, the chair can be reupholstered if you need a different job profile in your organization. So you've gone from a widget maker and you need a Twinkie counter. That's okay. Reupholster your chair with a new job profile. That's going to be edit the position, or you can handle that with the change job with the same person, or just edit the position. If a worker in your organization transfers to another supervisory org, there should be a chair or a position in that new organization. You want to keep your dining room table intact with your 8 chairs. So if somebody moves, then they're leaving your party, going to another party, they will sit in a chair that's there waiting for them. I have a note here that in another picture I had that I couldn't bring to this presentation, I had people sitting in the chair and then one person went to the other party and there was an empty chair. So just an idea if you wanted to rework any of this. So if a worker in your org, they goes to another org, they don't take their chair with them. And if you have those guidelines in your organization, in the change job, you say no to move position to the new manager. When that happens, you lose your chair at your table. You have fewer positions in your organization. And now when you want that 8th person back, you're the one who has to go through the approval process. So you've already done the work to get your 8 people. Let somebody else do what they need to do. And I've not heard that managers like to go through that approval process. Another visual thing that helped in the past was when a person took their position with them, their chairs don't match when they get to their organization. They get a crowded table, lots of things. So it's keeping in mind you want to keep your furniture set the way you have it created and you've worked hard for. Let the other person that they've also worked for, because that could be adding a chair to their table could be just as yeah, I'm missing a word. It could be just as detrimental to them as losing your chair. So then just a couple things to keep in mind. If the business process that you have for change job has the create position, that does not go through validation or any approval processes that the create position does when it's that sub process and change job. I've done a validation rule that shows up, but it is an irritant because you've gone through all of the steps in the change job. And if you've got a template that brings in assigned organizations and compensation all on that change job, it's not until the end that the initiator gets the validation rule. I will tell you on a side note, it doesn't take long for people to learn that one. But it is a way to prevent creating another position that does not go through approvals for that create position. Metrics do rely, metrics for turnover do rely on reusing that same position for the relevant information, and turnover in my past has been more than just the number of hires divided by the number of terminations. It has shown actually in some performance areas not related to the position itself. I've actually experienced that when I had similar supervisory organizations. For instance, I had 3 groups of widget makers, and there was always turnover in one manager's organization. We found that there was actually some performance issues with the manager rather than the position. So keeping that same position is good for other things as well. Somebody did ask in the chat that I saw quickly. I have no copyright on this presentation, and it can be shared with anyone, and however that we could like to do that.
So Charlene, I thought that was great. Nice comments here in the chat, some questions for you. We'll get to an open mic here pretty soon. I do want to also add for Rebecca's question about getting a copy of this presentation. Even better, I would say, than the PowerPoint is this is recorded. It goes up on YouTube. We could find the moment in which Charlene started talking, and you can share a link to people to hear that approximately 5-minute presentation, right? So thank you, Charlene, for offering the PowerPoint, but people could also hear you speak to it, which is something I'm going to mention here in the brainstorm. So let's transition and we'll come back to the questions. in the open mic session here in just a couple minutes.
And what's next on the agenda?
All right, next on the agenda is last month's, or the brainstorm for this month was show no when false. It's only been open for a couple weeks, over 50 votes so far. So for those who didn't know about this, we'll put a link to this on the YouTube channel, and we also have a LinkedIn group. The thing that I was just mentioning though is allowing customers to post videos. How great that would be if Charlene took that 5-minute presentation and put it on community itself. That's something I opened after the very first Share-a-thon 3 years ago. So over 200 votes, but of course that's been 3 years. Okay, so we're done with brainstorms of the month, and we're now here on the agenda. Denise, how would you like to do this? Yep.
It's time for open mic. Everyone's mic should be open. So if you would like to ask questions or have something you'd like to share, please feel free.
Okay, so Charlene, if you're still on, I'm going to try to highlight those who ask questions in the chat. So Scott, you asked a question. Do you want to go ahead and ask here on open mic?
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm fairly new to Workday. We're focused on the student side of things. Recruitment has always been used as a student term rather than a HCM term. Is anybody confused by that ambiguity, and is there a new glossary entrance for recruitment on the student side?
Okay, let's get questions answered like that on the chat, or if somebody wants to speak to it, I would say you could go ahead and speak up. But I want to thank you, Scott, because if there was confusion, you just clarified for me that that word recruiting is maybe not such a great word when you're mixing higher ed and non-higher ed customers. Lisa, would you like to follow your chat with audio? Okay, several active in the chat. We won't use open mic any longer. What I'll do is I'll move forward so we could end proper on time, and then we'll have maybe some open mic at the end. So sorry if I'm cutting somebody off, but I'm watching the time. We did quick open mic. Let's wrap this thing up.
Okay, what do we have next on our agenda?
Up next, we have Workday hacks.
Okay, so the Workday hack of the month is something that a friend of mine, Floyd, pointed out to me when I wanted to remove duplicate candidates. Workday already has this find candidates and duplicates inside the system, but I wanted to write a custom report where I could control a combination of email, first, last name, address to try to see in a custom report which candidates were duplicates or very likely duplicates. So I used that same trick just recently where I wanted to list all workers who are using a mobile device who have logged in. A report you're going to see here will not list the employees, it lists all the sign-ons. So this trick hopefully will be helpful for people. On the left, you see the custom report for those who want to know everyone who's signed on a tablet or a phone. On the right, you see the fields that I listed, the sign-on worker, the device type, and the sign-on time. So I'm covering worker's name and the employee ID, but Alexi, you see, had logged in 3 times using phone or tablet, Alex 4 times, and the list goes on. There's over 1,000 here, Alexi 3, Alex 4, I'm repeating that because that will come up here. But the problem is I just want to know the people. I don't want to see a huge list. So I use that same trick that Floyd taught me, and this is how you do it. You add the number 1 onto your report. In options, you put sum. And then under the sort tab, you go ahead and say summarize detailed rows, yes. And on the filter tab, you will see that I was filtering for device type, phone or tablet, but you'll see on the bottom part, it's somewhat new in Workday reporting, the filter on aggregations. I filtered on sum greater than 1, and I did that because I'm copying a report that I had used to pick up duplicate candidates. And the result of this, sure enough, Alexi 3, Alex 4, and then it goes on. So instead of 1,000 rows, over 1,000 rows, I'm seeing only 1 row per worker who's ever logged into the system on a phone or a tablet. At least that's what I thought.
Okay, it's time for our Kahoot quiz. Let's see who will make the podium this month. Log back into kahoot.it You may have to refresh to get the new pin. The pin will be up in just a second here. So our pin is 546340.
That's 546340.
All right, I think we're ready to go. There's 3 questions today, and there is a right or wrong answer.
The Sharing Show between June and September will be airing weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, or daily. Great, everyone has received the emails and all the memos. Well, almost everybody. Kaylee's in first, Lee or Leah next, Rebecca, Chris, and ELT. It looks like you're all within 25 points of each other. The last time David facilitated 3 share-a-thons in a week. The city between LA and Boston was Las Vegas, Dallas, Chicago, or New York. There's actually a reminder of the picture that we showed in an earlier airing of the Sharing Show, so most people got that. Excellent. The third and final question will differentiate here. Rebecca's moved up to the lead by 10 points over Ferna. Callie is close. Okay, the bug in David's remove duplicates report of hashtag Workday hack to count the phone logins was, what was the bug? Some would not work for candidate count. Some would not work for sign-on count. Some for sign-on mobile device should be greater than or equal to 2, or some for sign-on mobile device should be greater than 0. This is pretty tough. I showed a screenshot that where I showed if it's greater than 1. But greater than 1 is when I wanted to find duplicate candidates. At this point, I just want to see anyone who had ever logged in on a phone, so I should check that the count was greater than 0. All right, let's see how many people got that. Berna, congratulations, you won on the podium. Mary in second place by only 30 points, and KL close behind, 38 points. Congratulations, everyone who's made the podium. All right, Kane, we're ready to wrap up. And then for those who want to stay on, we'll do a brief 10, 15-minute open mic session. Okay, all right. Kane, let's wrap up the show proper here.
Excellent. Thank you, David, Denise, Logan, and special thank you to our guests for speaking on the show today. As David mentioned earlier, we will publish the recording live on YouTube later today. So please shoot over there and subscribe and hit the notification so you'll get alerted when the next recording is live. And as David also mentioned, we're going to end the show out and go into an open mic session. So please stick around if you want to join for that. Everybody else, all that's left to say is have a great workday.